So the farther you get away from the equator, the less light, the more issues you have when it comes to growing food, because you don't have the same amount of light like I have here in Arizona. I mean, we're fortunate. We have light year round. I mean, it's so intense here even in the wintertime. So we can grow, out in our greenhouse year round without any LED or any type of grow lights. But when you start going into the northern hemisphere, you've got to have some sort of grow lights as well. So again, food sovereignty is going to become a bigger and bigger talking point.
Pleased to announce, I think this is part 3 with Dr. Troy Albright, owner of True Garden. And this is the premier aeroponic vertical garden system. I'm ordering one in Food Farm in Mesa, Arizona. Compound pharmacist, as well as high-tech solar-powered greenhouse facility expert. How's that for a dichotomy? Educating and empowering people to grow their own food with Tower Gardens. Troy, Doc, welcome back. I'm really looking forward to this.
Sounds good. Excited to be back. And I'm excited to just step through a basic program and answer basic questions and all that kind of stuff today. The Tower Garden's so simple, Dr. B. This was designed for a third grader. All right. Can you imagine that? A third grader? Well, if we, it's so simple. I mean, you have one moving part, and that's the pump. And that pump is in the reservoir of your tower. And, I got a couple visuals here that we can actually do, and which is nice. I mean, we can use some basic visuals. So here you have your tower, and you've got just one moving part, and it's just the pump here. So you have your water nutrient solution in the bottom here, and it pumps the water nutrient solutions up to the top, and then it just rains down. I mean, it's incredible. So your plants are hanging in here. The roots are hanging in air. So this is called aeroponics, different than hydroponics, because hydroponics, the air, your roots are hanging in the water, not in the air. So that's what's interesting about all this. So we see super growth, and it grows way faster, about 35% faster. And so it's a very simple technology, and it's just using the law of physics where things, the water goes up, you have this shower cap, and it just rains down, just using gravity. And as that water's tumbling down, it's hitting those roots and it's adding minerals and nutrients into those roots, and those plants grow super fast, and they're really nutrient dense. Very, very simple. I mean, the University of Mississippi actually did a study there showing that on average, the food is growing 3 times more faster than your traditional methods, with using up to 98% less water and 90% less land. So it's really something, Dr. B, how we can use technology to change how we grow our food. And again, we can talk about this. We got different types of towers, but I just wanted to give you a little simple overview. And really, the goal is to keep it simple and fun. We don't keep this simple and fun to grow your own food. That's the key. So you don't have to be a chemist like me to manage the water. It's designed to be used with tap water. Granted, if you clean that water up, the cleaner the water, the cleaner your produce tastes. So it comes down to what you want to do. Really basic, simple pH adjustment. You can adjust your pH. And then the key is adding some nutrients every time you add water. So it's really, really simple. The goal is to keep it simple. And then people ask me all the time, well, what can we grow? Well, I always tell them, grow the things you love to eat. And that's, if you eat a lot of salads, grow all the different types of salads. Everything from your lettuces to your kales, Swiss chard, arugula, basil. If you're really into the herbs, then grow all the different herbs. The parsleys, your dill, your thyme, oregano. I mean, grow the things you love to eat. This is like the tower that just keeps giving and giving and giving. So it's so simple. And again, like I've said in the previous podcast, my family, we were farmers. We were dirt farmers in Minnesota, and I still have cousins that are farming. And this is so much simpler. We don't have to move dirt. We don't have to deal with all the different types of worms and bugs that are in dirt. That's way simpler. We don't use any pesticides. We only use natural products. So the key was to keep it simple, make it so you could grow it in your own house, your own backyard. A lot of us are living in condos or small spaces, and the tower was designed just for that. So we have an indoor tower, that's the home tower, and then we have an outdoor tower, that's the flex tower, that we actually will use for our commercial towers that we go up to 9 feet tall because it has the wider base. So let me actually show you another visual real quick here. The differences between the towers here as we look at this. So we have the flex tower that's here on my right. I don't think it'll be backwards on screen, but let's just pull it all the way back so you can see it. So on the right side here, we have the flex tower. It's 2.5 square feet in diameter, so 30 inches. Has a 20-gallon reservoir, and you can grow 20, and this tower has an extension up to 28 different plants on it. The lights are universal, so they fit on both models. But the flex tower is what we use in our greenhouse, and we go up to 9 feet tall in the greenhouse. Outdoors, we go up to 8 feet tall. So this tower here can grow up to 28 different leafy greens, herbs year round, right in our own kitchen, if that's where you want it, in your own house, or even in your backyard. We just take the lights off if we're moving it outdoors. On the left here, as you can see it, this is our home tower. And it has a little, a water monitor, a little float valve in there, but it also is smaller in size. The diameter of the reservoir is only 24 inches, so it goes through any door. Has a 13-gallon reservoir, because when you grow indoors, you go through a lot less water, so you don't have to have as big of a reservoir. And again, it still has just the pump that moves in there, and it pumps it up to the top, and the water and the nutrients just rain down. So again, it's a much smaller footprint. So if we're just growing indoors, the home tower also comes with 16 baby greens, which are at the top there. And then you also have 16 more grow ports to grow your regular produce in those other ones. So that has 32 grow ports, where the home tower will have 28 with the extension or 20 without the extension. So that's just a very simple overview of what I do here at True Garden. We offer, classes and things like that. I'm the type that everybody can read. I'd rather just talk through things, answer questions, and that way we can really determine that growing your own food is not only fun, but it's also nutritionally dense produce that you're actually going to be getting. I just had a family come up from Mexico this past Saturday, and they couldn't believe how the produce they were eating off the tower was making their teeth turn green and their tongue was green. It just shows you all that chlorophyll and the nutrients that are in there. So again, once you start growing your own food, you'll understand that power of the tower here. So in a really simple nutshell, that's what this tower is about.
Well, but I mean, I know this isn't our first meeting, but can you share your story going from a compound pharmacist to a vertical farmer? That's a big shift. Just briefly share how you got into this.
One of my customers who had a lot of health issues, she saw, she was trying to figure out how to get me to engage in this. And she knew that I loved compounding. And she goes, I want to show you the tower. And I'm like, well, I'm not really interested. And she goes, well, she knew that when my daughter was born 27 years ago, my daughter had all these red spots, scabs on her body. And I said to the doctor when she was born, I'm like, what's wrong with my daughter? And he's like, oh, that's nothing. That's just a little bit of eczema. That's just really normal, no biggie. And, we started studying it 27 years ago. We didn't really have organic food back then. And my wife and I realized that when babies are born and they have like an eczema or psoriasis, it's because of what we've been eating ourselves. So that's when we started pursuing a healthier diet. And 2-3 years later, my son was born, and he had this beautiful olive skin. I mean, it was like night and day between my two kids. I mean, he doesn't have any of the psoriasis stuff that my daughter has. but ironically, they both still had some asthma. So even though we had changed our diet, so then we started pursuing, okay, what's causing that? And I had a pediatrician that would not give my son antibiotics. So here I'm this school traditional pharmacist, and I'm like going in there, and I have the tools to look in his ear, and I can see he's got an ear infection. And the doctor goes, Troy, you've got to figure out what you're giving him that's causing this. I'm like, oh my gosh, just give me the antibiotics. I just want some amoxicillin. I've been schooled, just give this drug, if it's an infection, just give him this drug. And he's like, you got to figure out what's going on. So I went home, or on the way home, we stopped at McDonald's, because that was always a treat. I take my kids to McDonald's and get, chicken fingers. And he took 2 bites and he starts coughing. And the light bulb goes on. I'm like, it's partially hydrogenated oils. And my son couldn't even say the word. Here he's 5 years old. And I go, it's partially hydrogenated oils. I go, let's look in the pantry at everything you eat and see if that's in there. I'm not joking. Everything we gave him, from crackers to, some of the soft foods and pastas, they all have these partially hydrogenated oils in them. We eliminated it from his diet, and all that asthma went away. So then we started looking at more of these sugar substitutes, because all these sugar substitutes are in stuff as well. And so then we realized that he was having a reaction to these sugar substitutes, because he liked to chew gum. And he was starting to get all these white spots in his mouth. You'd think he was having like little pimples in his mouth. So then we started eliminating these sweeteners we were told that are good for you, but they're artificial sweeteners. We eliminated those from his diet, and rarely does he even get asthma now. And he's 23. So the foods we eat, the things we put in and on our bodies matter so much. And this is what we're talking about. If you can start looking at growing your own food, you're not going to be exposed to all these chemicals that are being sprayed on our produce. And in your own home, you'll know what is being sprayed on, because you're in control of that. And that's the biggest issue that I see that creates chronic disease. And it's that chronic inflammatory response. Starts with the gut, and then it will manifest in different parts of our body. And some of us come down with, immune compromised type of chronic disease. Some come down with lupus. Some come down with cancers. It starts with what we're doing to our body. And that's where you and I, as health practitioners, our goal is to be proactive, not reactive. And I believe we can by just starting with the food we eat.
Brilliant. I was talking to a doctor that started Santa Viva, a cancer clinic, about 30 years ago. And again, they don't treat the cancer. They strengthen the body, detox the system, get the right nutrients, and then the body can, develop healthy cells instead of unhealthy cells. And I asked him the same thing. What got you thinking different than the medical system? And you did that. Okay. And I mean, for health benefits, for sure, you're growing your own stuff. It's beyond organic, because it's not an even organic soil. But what about food sovereignty? Because people don't know that we're going to have a problem with getting our own food. Can you share the importance of food sovereignty?
We're so fortunate to live in the United States. We can walk into a grocery store and we can pretty much buy all sorts of produce, fruits, and all that. But we've got to be aware that there's a point where foods becomes more and more of a commodity. As I work with places all over the world, we're seeing the cost of food go way up. So as diesel and gasoline prices go up, the cost of bringing food to the market, all of it's going up. The cost of getting fertilizers, this is all keying into it. So figuring out a way to make sure you have your own food supply is becoming very important, because water is also a commodity, not just here in the US, but all over the world. Fresh, clean water. Without water, we don't exist as human beings. Without water, we don't survive. Just like our plants need water. So for us to grow our own food and have that access right there, to me, that's very comforting to know. But this issue we're looking at all over the world. I'm selling farms in Canada, especially Canada right now, just because a head of lettuce there in the summertime is $10.
Wow.
Yeah, $10 for a slimy head of lettuce. And then it's $15 in the wintertime. Can you imagine that? So, I mean, we're seeing all this go up, and in some parts of the world, it's already gone up astronomically just because of where they're located. So the farther you get away from the equator, the less light, the more issues you have when it comes to growing food, because you don't have the same amount of light like I have here in Arizona. I mean, we're fortunate. We have light year round. I mean, it's so intense here even in the wintertime. So we can grow, out in our greenhouse year round without any LED or any type of grow lights. But when you start going into the northern hemisphere, you've got to have some sort of grow lights as well. So again, food sovereignty is going to become a bigger and bigger talking point with us here in the US as well as in other parts of the world.
Yep. Now, what kind of foods can be grown in them, and what can't?
Sure. So indoors, we always tell people, if you're starting out, start with the easy things, the leafy greens and the herbs, things you love to eat. If you love lettuce up the yin yang, I mean, I have some people that are just vegans, and they've showed me you can become a vegan and still get enough protein by what you're eating, but they have to be very in tune to what they are eating so they get enough protein. But we say grow your towers with the things you're going to love to eat, so we can grow lots of salads, lots of herbs, tomatoes, zucchini, squashes, those kind of things grow very, very well. The things you can't grow in the tower are like your blueberries, your raspberries, your tubers like potatoes, carrots, radishes that are root vegetables. We play jokes on each other, and we'll throw a carrot seed in with a Swiss chard or something, but you don't have the space to grow these root vegetables or these tubers. So those are still best in the soil. So when it comes to all the leafy greens and herbs, you can grow those year round.
Man, okay, what's the turnaround like how to produce and harvest? It blows my mind to think 3 times as fast. And I know you were talking like 28 days or something before.
Correct. So once you have a 2 to 3 inch seedling, in 21 to 28 days, you will have a full head of lettuce, because those roots are hanging in air, so they're getting superoxygenated. And then as they get bathed in the water and the nutrient solution, they just grow 30% faster. And again, you can go back to that University of Mississippi study. Again, we had it looked at by Mississippi. They do all the FDA food studies, and they showed that it not only grew faster and yielded more, but it also had the same nutrient, if not better nutrient value than something that was grown in perfect organic soil, which they do there.
Fantastic. And I know you start off with seedlings, right? You don't just put seeds in there.
Correct. You can grow your own seeds, and you can direct seed. That's a little process, or you can seed them and have them once sitting in your like on top of your refrigerator, someplace that is warm, so you can put your seeds in either rock wool or cocoa core is what we use here, and put the seeds in like a 1/4 inch of water and put them someplace warm. And the top of your refrigerator is very, very warm. In our greenhouse, it's very warm in there. And in the wintertime, we use heat pads. So then once those germinate, then we put them in direct sun. And once they've grown 2 to 3 inches tall, you just put them right in your tower. Or we ship seedlings all over the United States. And that's something that we're offering your viewers, Dr. B, that if they order a tower from you, they get seedlings to fill that tower at no charge. We're going to ship them to you directly to their house. That way they can grow what they want to eat, and we'll help them, we'll assist them to select their seedlings for that tower. And that's a show special that we want to make sure all your people get.
How long do those seedlings last?
So again, if you're growing indoors, you can grow those seedlings. And I have some people that grow for a whole year using those same seedlings. Once the flavors aren't there that you don't like, or they become bitter. So like when you're growing outdoors, the sun, as the summer comes, they can get bitter. So some people will change their seedlings out every 4 to 6 months, but indoors you can grow up to a whole year. It comes down to what flavors do you like. I like all that fresh, really potent flavors. So usually, the towers in the greenhouse, or even in the learning center here, we turn them around every 4 months, 4 to 6 months, depending on the flavors.
Okay, what about bug control? I mean, we use praying mantis, nematodes, ladybugs. What do you guys? How do you deal with that?
So people think that if you're growing indoors, you never get bugs. But when we bring any type of plants inside, in the soil, that plant has been sprayed already. The soil's been sprayed because there's eggs in those soil and they hatch. So any type of plants that we bring into our house, potential for bringing bugs in. Whenever we open a door or a window, or our dogs, cats, our animals go in and out, they're bringing bugs in. So what we do is we do natural plant, bug control. So if we're outdoors, it's easy. You just take your water and you just rinse that tower off 2-3 times a week. If you're outdoors, very simple. Just like we shower, we can give our tower a little shower either early morning or late afternoon when the sun's gone down. Just give it a little shower, knock anything that's got onto that tower, because it takes bugs about 2 to 3 days to get infested into your tower. Keeping your tower harvested, so that way you don't let it get overgrown. So that one tower I showed you a little bit ago was already ready to be harvested. So once you can't start seeing the plastic behind it, then it's already overgrown, and that waxy cuticle of that plant starts breaking down, which then allows bugs to come in and hide in there, because now you can't get airflow into that plant canopy. So keeping your tower harvested helps keep the bugs away. Planting beneficial products like marigolds or basil, different products that will help repel bugs. So there's herbs and things, those also help repel bugs. But if we do get bugs, the biggest culprit is typically an aphid. And some people think, well, that's part of the natural ecosystem. What's the big deal? Well, my wife doesn't like any 6-legged bug crawling on her salad. So we use natural products like neem oil.
Mm-hmm.
And once a week, if we be proactive and we spray the tower once a week with the lights off if we're growing indoors. Again, outdoors, it's easy just to rinse the tower off. Look at your tower every day. If you start seeing the leaves curled under, it's like, okay, why are they curled? Is it just because of the heat, or is there some aphids under there? Because it takes a while for them to get embedded. And once they get embedded, then it takes a little bit more time and effort to get after them. So you can't just plant these things and then look at them in 30 days. You've got to look at them, talk to them, breathe on them. They will grow right before your very eyes. And that way, if you see something, you can then spray it with some neem oil, some natural pyrethrin, which is made from the chrysanthemum blossom, is another product we use. Heck, you can just use a little bit of some soap and water, some non-perfumed soap and water, a couple, 2-3 drops, spraying that with some neem oil. So it's very, very simple to take care of.
I know outside the ladybugs are the best for the aphids, but trimming the garden, trimming the plants, that's part of the fun.
Exactly.
I mean, you're growing it, but now, what are the costs? Because the electricity, does the pump run 24/7? How often do you got to re-add the water? Do you have to mix minerals with it? What's like the regular maintenance? Is it daily or weekly or?
That's a great question. So, and when we're growing indoors, we're basically growing in a controlled environmental area, just like my greenhouse. So when we're growing indoors and we're using air conditioning, we're really going through a lot less water. So it's a controlled environment. So once a week, we tell people to look at the water level and then just top it off once a week. And then just use half the amount of nutrients. So just top it off. So we have an A and B nutrient solution. So when we're topping it off, we'll just have them use 10 mils of A and 10 mils of B. And so if they add 5 gallons of water, then they're going to add 50 mils of A and 50 mils of B to their water and mix it, and they're ready to go. Those are all the micronutrients and minerals that those plants need, which then we need from the plants. So it's very simple. So we say just top it off once a week. So when we're growing indoors, we probably go through maybe 3 to 5 gallons at the most per week indoors. When we're growing outdoors, we have a lot more transpiration, evaporation going on. So depending on what we're growing and how big our plants are, we might go through 3 to 5 gallons every 3 days. Like now in the summertime, we could easily go through 3 to 5 gallons every 3 to 5 days because of how hot the sun is here. And so growing outdoors, we want to make sure we check them more often, making sure that there's always plenty of water. Then the summertime is over and we grow into the fall. Then we're, again, only using 3 to 5 gallons of water outdoors every 3 to 5 days as well.
Cool. And how often does that pump run?
So with the current timer, there's a very simple timer that we have now. Let me grab that. So let me pull it over here. So there's a very simple timer. So as we've gone down this pathway, we just have a very simple timer here. And when it's plugged in, it either lights up O for outdoors or I for indoor. So if we're growing outdoors, you'll just press this little button here once, and it'll flip it back between indoors and outdoors. When it's in the outdoor setting, it's running the same way as my farm does, 3 minutes on, 12 minutes off. Indoors, it's running 5 minutes on, 45 minutes off. And if you forget what the timer set up, it talks about it on the back here. So that pump isn't running very often. So to run it for the whole month here in Arizona, it's right around $3 per month to run and grow your own food. So it's very, very cost effective. So yes.
I'm still thinking $10 for a head of lettuce in Canada. That's ridiculous. And this people grow enough lettuce for a few families.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's very cost effective. And then somebody asked me about the lights. Well, the lights don't pull a lot of power either. That's about $4.35 a month based on what our price of power here is in Arizona. So you're looking at about $6.35 a month to grow your own food indoors.
Yeah. What about like cleaning, maintenance? Do you have to like take the pump out or flush it with something, or any upkeep like that?
What we like to do is we like to clean it after summer. And so, when I look at my towers behind us, we constantly wipe them down. So when we're checking the water and the pH on them once a week, we'll actually just wipe it down with some water and vinegar. And then every 6 months or so, we'll actually clean it really well. You really want to clean it on an annual basis because you can get root disease. There's spores in the air. So once a year, we want to sterilize that tower where we take it apart and we clean it really well. So things that are still food safe are like bleach. So some people can still use bleach. If you do, again, we fill up the reservoir, put the pieces in there and let it soak overnight. Triple rinse those, put them back together, run some water through it, and you sterilize your towers. So like in restaurants, they still use bleach, or they're using products like chlorine dioxide, which has been used quite a bit through the whole pandemic. Bars and restaurants and schools were using chlorine dioxide spray because that's sterilizing as well. So there's certain products that do sterilize. Because if you don't sterilize and you keep growing, all of a sudden you start getting root disease and your plants won't really grow very well and they start dying on you. And that usually will take, a year or two to get that, especially if you're in Arizona. But when it does hit, then you really need to sterilize that tower. But it's important to sterilize and take it apart once a month, inspect that pump, and just do a good cleaning on it. Very simple.
And a big cleaning once a year. Perfect. That's ideal. I use vinegar, white vinegar and water all the time for killing mold and stuff on the boat. Now, I love this one. What advice do you have? Because I've got a lot of patients, a lot of friends that don't have green thumbs. Okay. And they're incredibly scared. How can you alleviate their fears?
I have people that kill cactuses here in Arizona.
That ain't easy.
It's pretty funny. It's if you can just add water and nutrients and then make sure you eat off those plants, you won't kill them. The people that kill my plants in the tower garden are those that forget to add water and nutrients. I'm not joking. They'll add the initial startup of nutrients and they're growing indoors and you don't go through as much water, so they don't give them any more nutrients. It might go through just a couple, 3 gallons every week, and they look, oh, I don't need to add water. So next thing you know, those plants have taken almost all the nutrients they need out of that water, and now you start starving them. And I tell these people, well, don't you eat on a daily basis? And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, your plants do too. And if you don't feed them, at least on a weekly basis, put some more in, you're starving them. And so I have, I have 5-year-olds growing these towers all the way up to like 85-year-olds growing in towers now. So if some of these 85-year-olds can do it and these little young kids can do it, anybody can do this, even if you kill cactuses.
Now, I know you got financing, but what is it? 12 months, 0 interest, so you can cover it or divide it up over 12 months. And I know that the big one that I was looking at was under $1,000. I think it was like $800 and something dollars.
Right. By the time you get the tax and if you get lights on there, you're probably right around that $1,000. And then you can divide that up over 12 months, same as cash. They don't do any type of credit checks. I mean, the Tower Garden company is amazing. They believe the best of people, and the people that are trying to grow their own food. These people are incredible. They have commitment. They understand their obligations. This company wants people to grow their own food. So depending on the amount of accessories and everything you get, you're probably looking at anywhere from $50 to $80 a month over that whole, as a payment on a monthly basis over 12 months, no questions asked. It's really something. And in time, we're going to have online classes too. So people that don't live here in Arizona will be able to do online classes and get the same teaching as well. And so my goal is to bring that so people can be anywhere in the world learning how to grow vertically in these towers.
Brother, now that I'm back from traveling, I'm going to be ordering one. I'm going to be ordering one tomorrow. And oh God, yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. Now we've got a question and answer. Are you ready to answer questions from the audience?
I sure am. Am.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, brother, okay, and we gotta. If listening to this, you got to be motivated to get a hold, become sovereign with your food, become smart with your nutrient intake. What I know, there's going to be a link down below, but you got to take action now. I mean, Dr. Troy, I mean, the stuff that you've gotten, what is it? What's the show special? You're offering seedlings?
Yep. So anybody that buys towers from you, Dr. Bergman, I'm offering them free seedlings to fill that tower up that first time. So that way they're starting with a seedling that they'll just plug right in. They'll fill up their tower with the water and nutrients, and they're off to the races and watching their produce grow right before their very eyes. And then they get to indulge in that within 30 days.
God bless you, brother. Get off of the sidelines. I'm going to get off the sidelines tomorrow and actually call him up, because now I'm back and I can start working again. Make the move. Harvest within a month. Okay, if you're living in an area that it blows my mind. $10 for a head of lettuce. Okay, and in a packet of seeds, you have 50 different seeds. And harvest in 30 days, and this is going to be for forever. Okay, and just I mean, now that you told me that it's only cleaning the thing, deep cleaning once a year.
Yes.
You add water a couple of times a week. Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Right. And if you have kids, get the kids to help you, because once your kids start seeing the food grow before their very eyes, guess what? They start eating that. And you start working on their gut microbiome when they're young and not waiting till they're 50 like I did 10 years ago. I'm trying to correct 50 years of junk I did to my gut the last 10 years. Not possible to fix overnight. Mm-hmm. And that's why, if we start with our kids when they're younger, they won't have the same health issues we have. Because of food. Yes.
I mean, you see, you're right, man. You're raising kids that go in there, take a plant, and then put it in their mouth and chew it. You're knowing where it comes from. That's life. Let food be your medicine, medicine be your food.
I'm right there with you. The power of these things that I know you do, couple that with food, we can live. I mean, if some of those that are really biblical scholars talk about living to 120, I can see how it can happen. But requires us to take care of this body that we have been given. And I tell you, the last 10 years I've been working on it, but the first 50 years I didn't really understand this. I didn't. No one told me.
Troy, God bless you, man. This has been super fun. Okay. And I don't want everybody to take advantage. This is going to be put online and, take care of yourself because you ultimately are the one in charge of your own health. And once we realize and we don't abdicate authority over our health, we take responsibility. What you put in your body becomes you. Troy, your tower gardens are the great start.
Yep. I appreciate taking the time, and I'm looking forward to coming down and seeing you.
God bless you, brother. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. And stay healthy, my friends.
Take care.